Alright, so it's day 4 now, and we're back out here working on this clunky clutch. It is, ooh, I got the shakes. 80, oh, sorry guys. I think it's about 87. I got the shakes because I'm real tired after working all day. I did some research on this clutch, and in the earlier models they came with a little spring on the back, and when I bought the weights and the sliders, I think I bought it as a kit and there was little springs in there. But I'll show you when I say this, there's really no spot for the springs. So these I went and picked up at the hardware store. I'm hoping that they will work. I cannot find a diagram dedicated to where these springs are supposed to go. I have a suspicion that we're gonna kind of work on, but hopefully this fixes our issue. We're gonna find out. So we're just gonna tear this thing back down and take a peek. Okay, so I found my video the first time I ever took this thing apart.
The only idea I can come up with on why it's this bad is maybe over time you can see
there's
there's
a spring.
about an 1/8 inch.
It sticks out just maybe 2 rungs past the curvature. This point right here, it sticks out just past that. So that is a pilot hole, and what I'm going to do is match up a drill bit to the width of this. We'll drill a hole, and I'll actually put a little piece of tape on the drill bit so I know the exact depth for all of these. That way the weights are close enough to the same, and I'll have to snip this down a little bit, but that is what we are missing. That is why this thing is clunking around. Okay, we have our piece of tape on, and we are all set. Let's drill a hole. I'm not even sure if this bit is wide enough. It's really close though, and I would like those to fit tight. So we're just gonna drill a little hole to start with. If I need more, we'll make an adjustment. And that's what we needed. Perfect. All right. I just reviewed my video and I counted 3 rings sticking above the weight. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Now there's just enough pressure where that's not gonna bump on there anymore. The bell only fits on one way. It's just some 220. Alright, so it still has a little bit of clunk, but it's this exhaust that I'm pretty sure the reason why the caliper on this side just doesn't have the, hear that? This one just doesn't have it, so I'm going to try to bleed it, and if that doesn't work, then I'm not sure. We'll cross that bridge though when we get there. Otherwise, everything else seems to be okay. It's running good, getting lots of fuel. It's a little boggy on the twist throttle, but we can adjust that. Okay, I put this big spring on here just to see, and it definitely fixed it. So there's no more clunk. I'm gonna have to run to the hardware store and see if I can't find a very powerful spring. And it goes on the inside. I have it on the outside here because it just was easier, but we get one that goes on the inside. I wouldn't want to put it in there anyways because right now, because it's so hot from running this thing. But Rose, can you say Argo?
Argo.
Good job. Okay everyone, so today we ran to the hardware store and we got a new spring. I also picked up this brake fluid. It takes DOT5. It's a little bit different. 3 and 4 are kind of like the standards. And I did have a minute and I took off the left side, which is the side that's not quite braking very well, and it's low on fluid, so I'm going to try to fill it up and then bleed it if I can. But before I do anything like that, I'm actually going to back it out and clean it using the pressure washer. It just has pine needles and stuff from probably from before, but I want to clean it all the way up. That way I can see if, with the brake especially, if any fluid leakage is happening or what's going on. So I got the pans out and the drain plugs are out, so we're just going to clean it up real good. You see me shaking once again. Today it was in the 90s, and after working all day in the heat and coming home and being in the heat, my body's a little exhausted, so yeah. Actually, what you're hearing is when I pull that, it's pushing the fluid back up and hitting the top of these. You go back down about the same. Well, I guess let's see if that worked. Kind of a miracle, I think, if it did. Okay, although that sounded promising, it still does not have anything on the left. So what I'm going to do now is, being that it was low, I'm going to try to bleed it. I believe that this little knob right here is the bleeder. I have a hose I can hook up on there, and we'll try to see if there is air in there. Try to get that air out, and maybe that'll work. Okay, we have a wrench on there, but we got this cup thing that I have. And we just gotta loosen it and essentially bleed these like you would a car. This is the part that goes on the handle, and it pushes this in and out, which pushes this piston in and out, which pushes fluid through there. So what we're going to do is open up the top, and I believe this pretty much just pops right out. Okay, the piston, and then the spring, and this piston has this first O-ring. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah, so it has this O-ring, which is pretty much flat, and it's supposed to have, I believe, a second O-ring right here, and it does not have that. So unfortunately the O-rings that I have are just regulars. These ones are almost square, and this one here has a groove in it. It's hard to see right there. It's a groove. So I'm going to have to try to find these online, cross-reference them, see if I can get them locally here or order them fast. Okay, so that is what we accomplished this evening. We got it washed really good, and that knocking seems to have gone away, and now we gotta just get some O-rings, and hopefully once we get these O-rings, this machine will be ready to rock and roll. So okay everyone, so we got it back up and running, went through the fuel system, and it's been sitting outside. I've been sidetracked with the deer blind project for Grandpa. I just got back today from doing that. I brought this thing back in the garage. I took it around, and it's just not as snappy as what I expect it to be. So I took it all apart, went through it again. This carb looks fantastic. So then I was like, you know, I'm going to go back and take these valve covers off, and I'll show you that. So I got these valve covers off. And when I went to take off this one, if you guys remember, this side was the side that we replaced the bent valve on. And when I opened it up, this valve, that would be intake side, was sitting off. It's not bent. I have it right here. It's not bent. But what I think it is when I replaced it, I must not have adjusted it right. So we're gonna go and work on that, and I think that's why. Because the issue that I've been having with this thing that's been stumping me, it's a little bit boggy, but more importantly, it'll idle, and then it kind of the best way to describe it is, to me, it was misfiring. And I went through and I looked at the spark plugs and all that stuff, and so now I've had the opportunity to dig into it deeper. This is this type of stuff I don't want to dig in and do, because it's like, oh geez, we're really in her now. But yeah, so now that I know that that's an issue, we gotta find top dead center, aka the compression stroke on this side, back it off a 1/4 inch, and then using my shims, shim it and make sure that it's good. So I'm happy to see that this is not bent, because before it was bent and that was an issue. So as long as it's not bent, I can chalk it up to the wrong clearance, or, you know, you're supposed to readjust them after a little bit of use. So it might have been due for a readjustment, and it popped off of there or whatever. But let's take care of this and see if I get the snap back, because it just seemed laggy on the throttle, and I could not get it to idle right, and it was driving me nuts. So let's figure that out. See how this one, the whole thing moves? This one, the pin, does not want to move. And on this side, they both move. So we have a seized pin again. See if we can just lightly tap it here to... Definitely seized. So if I remember right, last time I did what I'm going to do this time, which is I took a block of wood and I smacked it to loosen it up. And I think the reason why I did that is to get this out, you're gonna have to pull this off, which is what I did last time. But I'm just curious if we can get her to move a little bit. She's really, yeah, she's totally tight in there. Okay everyone, so the parts showed up today for the Argo, and we got our new valve. Looks about the same size. And I thought it was just the valve that I was getting, but it actually came with the valve oil seal, the two tiny keepers, which I actually needed because they fell down into the engine compartment, and then like the cap for the spring. So that's really nice. I had ordered one of these valve seals. I had ordered one, but it was the wrong one, and so I was trying to track down the right one, and sure enough, this kit here came with it, so that's really convenient. That one traveled pretty far, huh? What are you working on over there now? Oh. Okay everyone, so we have the large plastic intake taken off, and there's some leaves and a lot of crud actually still in the bottom of the front area here. So I'm going to take a little bit of time and using a shop vac get that out. Alright, we got most of it out, as much as I could get using my shop vac, so that'll be good. Okay everyone, so it's running actually pretty good. It has quite a bit of power. But I was just listening to it run because it's knock, 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 really heavy. And that's the problem that I thought I fixed with those springs in that clutch. But I was watching it, and as I'm watching it, this has actually, the crankshaft goes all the way through, and this whole piece, it's going to be really hard to show you guys just because of the angles I got to work with here, but this whole piece is totally loose. So this is coming up and down. I know it's probably really hard to see, but look at the belt if I zoom in on it. Okay, you see the belt right there? Maybe you guys can see it kind of move. That's the exact noise. So what that means is the bearings on this thing are shot. How many hours do we got? 471 hours this thing is shot. Now that could be from a whole number of all sorts of reasons, but so it runs. Now when I get started here, that's probably another reason why it kind of runs like garbage, is I'm sure it's losing a lot of compression. Now watch it. Maybe you guys can see it, it kind of strips around. She seems a little, I don't know. Anyways, so I'm gonna have to make a phone call to my dad, see what he has to say about that. He wants a new engine in here bad, I already know. But I don't know, let's call him and see what he says. Okay everyone, so last night Dad and I had a really heart-to-heart conversation about what to do about this engine. It's been plaguing us now for since 2019 when I picked it up. So what we've come up with is we broke it down, and the fact is this machine goes where a four-wheeler can't go. If we're gonna go check out some deer hunting land and we hit the backcountry and we're rolling through the woods, you go through the streams with this machine and it floats. You go over all the marshy stuff because the footprint of it's real light, and you can get way back there where a four-wheeler just would never make it. And to do something like that, this machine pretty much needs to be 100% reliable. You can't be dealing with whether it will or will not make it to where you gotta go. And if you do get there, is the engine going to die when you get there? I mean, that's the thought in the back of your head that is an issue. And if this motor decides when we're way back in the woods that that's its last final day and it dies on us, you can't get a four-wheeler to it, and what are we supposed to do, you know? Get a new engine and carry it through the woods to a few miles? It's not a situation that we want to happen, and that we want to try to prepare ourselves so that it doesn't happen. So we looked up online, these Briggs and Strattons, you can get them through Northern Tool, and to get an 18 horsepower, I think it was either $1,650 or $1,750, right in that $1,600 to $1,800 range. And we're going to bite the bullet, and we're going to put a new engine in here. You know, this engine has 471 hours on it, and it probably, you know, might last 100 more hours of use around the farmhouse, or it could last 30 more minutes, and a person just doesn't know. But the way that the bearings are in this machine, it's probably about ready to lose all compression and die out. So it's just not a situation that we want to deal with. We want to deal with it now rather than later, and that's what we have decided. So it's going to take a few weeks to order the motor and get it put in here. And so I'm not 100% sure. I think it's 4 bolts. I cannot see them from the top though, so this, when I said this is about to get greasy, I really meant it. There should be 4, maybe 6 bolts holding this engine in. 1 right there. Boy, that's... Holy man, look at this. I'm going to scrape the underside of this. The underside of this plate holding the engine on. That's disgusting. Alright. Got our belt and our clutch. Yeah. Oh man, those are 4 of the suckiest bolts. Alright. I know I said I wouldn't, but I'm going to rip this thing out of here. 28 pounds. Okay everyone, so we got the engine out, and now with it out, it's really easy to take off this muffler. When it's in there, it's kind of a tight squeeze. So, it's a lot easier now. Let's get the muffler off of here. There we go. The exhaust. You can see how much oil is in the bottom of this. Even the key is swamped in oil. Oh yeah. That's bad. It wasn't charging the greatest either. And I'm going to attribute that to just how dirty all these things are. But here, let's... Hopefully you guys can kind of see the movement in this. I'll put the nut on it so you can get a better idea. See the movement? Show it to you the front way.